Okay, welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast of the official Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney. And it looks like Larry has failed another late fitness test. So Josh has been the late replacement. And Josh, we might as well fly straight into it because I don't know if there's a lot to discuss or nothing to discuss. It's one of those weird ones. We're a few days away from the end of the transfer window, and United have done pretty much next to no business. Obviously, Anthony Martial has gone out the door and confirmed since the last time Larry and I did have a chat that he's obviously gone over the line, and you obviously have social media. Anthony Martial, he sort of divides opinion amongst the Manchester United fan base. And sort of, is he good, isn't he bad? Sevilla definitely think he's good because they have been non-stop on social media for the past 2 days, absolutely milking this signing for God knows what. What have you made of that in terms of, we all remember the social media numbers when Cristiano Ronaldo was around, or when Cristiano Ronaldo was announced at United. I think there was 200 tweets in 2 days about Ronaldo. Sevilla, they're on course to match that with Anthony Martial.
Yeah, I mean, they're proper quoting the Martin Tyler phrase for his goal against Liverpool. I think it puts a lot of pressure on him, if I'm being honest. I mean, the amount of hype he's got, this is for a loan move as well. It's probably one of the top 4 Spanish teams out there, if you think about how good, Sevilla are. It's probably a lot of pressure for him, really. And look, I hope he does well for him, if I'm being honest. I know it's not overly worked out for United in the last year or so, but you got to remember during lockdown, he was the one that was keeping us sane. Him, Rashford, Greenwood, 20 goals each. It was a fun memory, and obviously you can't look back. You can't look past the the goals against Liverpool on his debut, and even the Everton semi-final in the FA Cup. He's providing some unbelievable moments, which personally I won't forget as a United fan. So I wish him all the best.
Yeah, you do have to say, especially in his scenario when he's still obviously contracted to the club, whatever your feelings, you do have to just hope he does do well. Even if you do want him to leave, you obviously bumps a few sort of pound on his transfer value at the end of the season. Yeah, but it's just a weird one in terms of the excitement. I get, okay, so but you do mention they are a big club. Okay, they're not Real Madrid or Barcelona, but the excitement around it, I just have to think, geez, calm down a little bit. Like, as you say, it's a loan deal. And Anthony Martial, while I think he's a fantastic footballer, he's one of those ones who divides opinion. They're not signing bloody prime Ronaldo, which obviously they did, as you mentioned. They got the original R9 to for a little video message. But there are a few guys in the chat. We'll just kind of say good day before we move on. Matt from the Supporters Club, keeping well, mate. Rob, hope you're keeping well. Imad, good mate of ours as always. And Trev, evening, mate. I hope you are keeping well. But that is enough on Anthony Martial, because that is the one we can sort of put to the bed. Okay, it's done. We can move on. Jesse Lingard, we can't move on. We'll get on to Donny van de Beek in a little bit, who's obviously on the thumbnail. But Jesse Lingard, I think, is a sort of appropriate place to start, because West Ham was always the rumoured destination after loan. When he came back to Manchester, I thought, okay, there will be a scenario where he's going to end up at West Ham, whether that be now or at the end of the season when he runs out of his contract. That has sort of gone very quiet, and suddenly in the last week, Newcastle became front runners. Now, this one's split opinion in regards to what to do with Jesse Lingard. A lot of people are along the bandwagon of saying, get rid of him, let him go on loan, it's best for all parties. I was the opinion, I'm happy for him to go on loan, but get something out of it. United need to get something out of the deal, whether that's just get his wages covered, get the wages off the book, so that frees up space for someone else, get something, get a loan fee. Even that loan fee, I was thinking a loan fee was like 500,000 or £1 million or something. Apparently United are turning down £6 million. And that is where the issue is. Some reports even suggest £10 million. And that is the issue. If United are getting that £6 million or £10 million and rejecting that, I can't get my head around this one, Josh, how they have done that. Because Newcastle definitely want Jesse Lingard. Jesse Lingard seems unhappy with the sort of treatment he's getting from the club and sort of stalling these moves. This is a weird one now that's stalling for no reason, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to the Juan Mata debate again. You were discussing about what's the reason that we're rejecting these moves. I mean, he clearly wants to, in the case of Mata as well, he probably still wants to play football while he can. With Lingard, it just doesn't really seem to make any practical sense. I mean, he believes in some respects, and I personally don't believe this, but it's besides the point. He thinks he's got a chance of making it to the England squad for the World Cup. Personally, I think he's a bit far off, just due to how good players in contention who have had consistent games for other clubs have been this year. I think it's a little bit too late for him anyway to be in contention for the England squad. But either way, he's a football player. We're clearly not utilising him. He's not making any appearances really off the bench for us. It just makes sense, to give him that loan move. I mean, for
just have a
someone like
feeling. Do you think?
Martial, who's playing as well, I mean, he came on the weekend.
Do you think, in regards to
Whether that was
you
to
look
get
at
him
the
the top
Donny van
window,
de
I don't know.
Beek? Yeah, well, you do look at a Donny van de Beek, and we'll get into his situation. But we all had this debate when Ralph Rangnick arrived. We said, okay, which players going to suit his system, which players aren't going to suit his system. I think someone unanimously across the board, someone who would suit his system was Jesse Lingard. And we just think, do you think we're just wrong in that opinion, or do you think Ralph Rangnick has seen something different? Because there is that video, and apparently it has added weight to Jesse Lingard's unhappiness. Did you see that video of Ralph Rangnick outside Old Trafford signing autographs?
No, I've not seen it. No.
So what happens is there's this fan Ralph Rangnick outside the Stretford End doing his autographs in the car park type thing, and he's there, and there's a fan there with like sort of selfie mode on the camera saying, "You should play Jesse Lingard. He's my favourite player. I really rate Jesse Lingard. You should play him more often." And Ralph Rangnick, we've spoken about his honesty in the press. He just came out to the guy and said, "Yeah, but he's leaving in the summer anyway." So he's come out and he's at the obviously the assumption that Jesse Lingard is leaving, and it just adds weight. Like, if I can't believe United are in a position where someone is going to throw. Again, I would be happy with £1 million or £2 million, but apparently Newcastle throwing anywhere from £6 to £10 million, and to turn that back when the player wants to go, the manager has sort of come to terms that he is not going to be used in the future of Manchester United. I cannot get my head around this one, because we're going to get into Donny van de Beek, and that's a completely different situation. But what do you think is going to happen the next couple of days? Because while days are running out, we have evidence in the past that January transfer window, a couple of hours is a long time. Things can obviously change very quickly. Just what do you think is going to happen in the coming days?
Well, I think if it's up to Rangnick, there might be something that Lingard's done or said to him, and you think, I'm just going to punish you, and you can, sit the rest of the 6 months out on the bench, I'd say in the reserves, but just not playing, and then you can go in the summer for whatever. Whether obviously it's going to be free, but you think if United had a bit of sense about him, and someone was willing to offer to pay their wages, like they said with Martial, although you mentioned the last podcast, that's a little bit suspect. It just doesn't make any financial sense to keep him here, really, especially if he's not in the plans. I mean, however deluded he might be in thinking, we've got a chance of making it to England, and that's not saying it's impossible. Injuries can happen with England, especially in the midfield. It's quite congested. But, he's got desires, he's got aspirations. It's not fair for us, really, to keep him here when clubs are offering really good money for a player on loan to keep him here.
I think that's the thing. We get taken advantage of so many times as Manchester United. We are finally in a position where there is a club we can actually take advantage of in Newcastle, who are going to pay stupid money. We're not using that to our advantage. I find it baffling. Like, this is one of the ones where you do want that Amazon documentary, and you do want the cameras behind the scenes at Carrington to see what is actually happening, because this seems so straightforward that it's just, I can't get my head around it. But we will move on to Donny van de Beek, and in the live chat, make sure you get your opinions in on Donny van de Beek, because this one I think is going to go to deadline day as well. How it will end up, I have no idea. He's either going to stay at Manchester United and stay on the bench, or he is going to get his moves to Crystal Palace. And Patrick Vieira is obviously pushing it. Fabrizio Romano tweeted the other day. Actually, I'll just get his tweet out here. Actually, not the other day. It was probably this morning, Sydney time, saying, this is from Fabrizio Romano, saying, talks ongoing for Donny van de Beek to Crystal Palace on a straight loan. Salary coverage now being discussed with Man United. Negotiations in progress. Patrick Vieira is pushing to have Donny as a new midfielder. This is a situation where I looked at the Jesse Lingard one and said, get something out of it. Get a loan fee or get his wages covered, something. What we need from this loan move with Donny van de Beek is just minutes. The minutes is what we need. So go let Donny van de Beek get some minutes. That's what we need. So this is straightforward for me, because simply he's not playing at Man United. 5 minutes off the bench isn't playing. So I'm just thinking that it was a report, how reliable, I'm not sure where it came from, that Ralph Rangnick does want Donny van de Beek at Manchester United, and the report said in 22-23, which obviously viewed to the new manager. People drew 2 and 2 together and said, well, that means Ten Hag's the manager. Regardless, let's say Ten Hag is the manager, because he's potentially one of the few very favourites. Donny van de Beek is a must for the next season, so he needs these minutes now. And there is weirdly a stumbling block over this, that United are stalling on it, but surely they can just let this deal go through. The Palace need a midfielder. Donny van de Beek needs football. United aren't using him. We need Donny van de Beek to have minutes before the new manager arrives. Surely this happens.
Oh, before this broke today, I thought the best case scenario for Donny looked like just sitting on the bench for 6 months and getting a free buy when Ten Hag comes in as next manager next year, because he's pretty much a certainty if he does come in to start, a lot of games next season. But I think this is a fantastic signing for Crystal Palace. I think they're definitely lacking someone like Donny van de Beek. It really complements the likes of Gallagher, who again is another player they have on loan from Chelsea. So it wouldn't be bad for him. It would be a club that's probably it's a different Crystal Palace to what we've seen under Roy Hodgson. They're very much attacking minded now, and they have that balance in defence as well. So I think you get a lot from it. It's not a team that's fighting relegation. It's a team that's sort of trying to break away from the mould from mid-table. And I think it'd be good for his game. And whether or not he's a United player next year, it can only be a benefit to him. It just seems silly for United to keep him unless he's not in the plans. But with the rumours we're going to discuss with what's he called, Babadaku Kamara, say that right? It might be wait for that rumour, but he is going to Crystal Palace.
Well, who do you think's calling the shots with this decision to send Donny Van? Who do you think has the last say now? Obviously, the Glazers and Woodward, or is it Richard Arnold now? Who knows? But who do you think has the most weight in this discussion with the decision to send Donny Van de Beek on loan? Is it a financial decision by the club in terms of Arnold, Woodward, and the Glazers, or is Ralph Rangnick thinking, I know who the next manager is? Let's say Ten Hag's the new manager. I don't have any plans for Donny van de Beek in my system for the next 6 months, but I know Ten Hag will, so I'll send him over to Crystal Palace to get some minutes. And that means the deal obviously gets done. But from United's point of view, if they're paying a player, they want to pay the player at Old Trafford. They don't want to pay a player to play against Manchester United. So who do you think? Now, ultimately, the answer will always come back to the board, and yes, they're the ones who have the final call. But is there a case where Ralph Rangnick does have power in this situation?
Yeah, and I agree with what George just said in the comments. I think Ralph definitely has the biggest weight in the Donny decision, really. You think as well that if he is, there's talk that he had to have that consultancy role for the next 2 years. I'd imagine there's elements of that at the moment. I can't see him just being, a straight integration into that sort of work. It's going to be a process from now into that consultancy position. So I presume he's having a lot of weight on those upstairs decisions.
Yeah, definitely. Wesley, do you think this will play a part in terms of the board's decision, why they have kept some players? And actually, I'll just bring Amad's comment up here first. Or Wes on here, Donny van de Beek will make the manager that didn't use him look like flops. And do you think there is a case of that where they're a little bit scared to sort of go and showcase his abilities elsewhere? Because there's no doubt, whatever you think of Donny van de Beek, there's a footballer there. Whether he fulfills his potential or not, he's obviously a quality player. He's proved that at Ajax. Do you think there is a little bit of fearfulness from the club to think, well, we've mismanaged him. We haven't sort of got the best out of him, and that's on us. That's not on the player. We haven't sort of afforded him the opportunity. If he does go to a rival, not that Crystal Palace are a rival, but if he does go to a Premier League rival in Crystal Palace and he shows us up, it's not really good PR for United, really.
No, not at all. And I'll tell you one thing that's a certainty. Donny could go out in January on loan, and he'd eclipse the amount of appearances he had by the end of the season. He'd probably eclipse the amount of goals and assists he's also had as well. And I think that's probably the fear for managers sending him out on loan. He's going to eclipse what he's done at United in the past 18 months in probably the space of a month and a half, 2 months, if we're being honest. Is a player that's clearly very hungry to play football. You can tell that, from his emotions on the bench, whether that's right or wrong, and we critique players, having a sulk on the bench, but you can't really blame him, really. I mean, he's came to United as a bit of a prospect and not really given the opportunity to play many games, whether that be through some other external issue, which clearly there must be, with Solskjaer not really rating him, and also Rangnick. There must be something that they're seeing that obviously we don't see behind, closed doors.
Yeah, definitely.
But he deserves obviously the opportunity to prove himself.
Yeah, just going back a little bit here, Jamie saying, well, so I agree to sell Lingard, which is pretty much a selling Lingard. Okay, it's a loan fee, but considering you're not going to get him back, it kind of is selling Lingard for 6 or 10 million. Do we think the Glazers will invest that money to put away for the summer? I think they'll take the profit. And I think that is the tricky situation. We all sit here as fans and talk about, yeah, okay, get the wages off the book so we can get this player, or sell this player for 20 million so 15 of that 20 million can go towards this transfer. Very rarely that does happen. So we all think like that as fans. And I agree, Jamie, in regards to, yes, that is ideal. But you're right in saying, well, the evidence that we have says the Glazers don't think like that and the Glazers won't reinvest. Now, 6 or 10 million, that's obviously nothing to really reinvest. It's not like an £80 million Ronaldo transfer coming into the club. But obviously a different sort of kettle of fish in that regard. But yeah, that is the fear. We do sort of play these football manager games in our mind to say, yep, sell this player, then we have these funds available. Very rarely does it actually occur. And here Ahmad saying, I hate the idea of loaning our players. Never works out for anyone. Joel Pereira, case in point. Off the top of your head, any real loans work, in what your opinion? I'm trying to think. There was one I was talking about a little bit earlier.
Henrik Larsson is fantastic for us.
Or a play going out on loan. I think obviously David Beckham, he's loaned to Preston, obviously got him a couple of minutes. I'm trying to think, there was another one I was thinking of that did work. Obviously David Beckham is the well-known one, obviously going to Preston. Just trying to think in the live chat.
Jesse Lingard worked in the short term. I mean, he was in contention to go to the Euros for England, which is what he wanted.
Well, not only that.
Obviously, he came a little bit too late, but he got the recognition that he was craving.
Well, not only that loan, which you're completely right. He had 4 previous loans before he started at United. He obviously clubs like Birmingham, Derby, Brighton. There's one other club as well in there in the mix. So he obviously, Jesse Lingard is one who obviously developed from the loan system. But I agree with him, it's sometimes frustrating, but it's one of those ones where they do need minutes and you do have to. Matt saying here, I'm talking this century. He obviously David. Well, Jesse Lingard falls into this century, maybe not David Beckham. But Ali's saying here, just one more comment before we move on. United lack a director of football, show our poor transfer decisions. If we had to sell Lingard, why not do it last season when we could have gotten good money for him, same as Pogba, Mata, and Martial? And look, yeah, completely agree. We say I don't agree with one Mata, but yes, I do agree. Sorry?
It's a different debate, and it's you can open a whole can of worms with that because he's hit the nail on the head. But it's baffling how you're forcing players like Pogba, but full well there is a 99.9% chance that they are dead set on leaving United. Probably more. They don't want to be there, and United just can't read between the lines, thinking maybe money can talk because money has talked in the past. But we need to get away from being that club where money talks and play. You want to have the desire to play for United, not just a financial desire, because the financial desire is always going to be great. But look where that's got us in the past.
Yeah, definitely. Where's here with a shout for a loan? Dean Henderson. Now maybe he hasn't kicked on at United, but that's off the back of David De Gea's form. But he did do well out on loan at Sheffield United. And George with a shout here, which I think is proven to be correct. Could you argue that Delo's loan worked? I think 100% it worked. Maybe not so much. I think the best thing for Diego Dalot was the change in manager. I think that was the most important thing for him. I think Ralph Rangnick obviously saw something compared to Wan-Bissaka, which I think regardless of the loan spell at Milan, he was always going to get under Ralph Rangnick. But definitely, which you do have to give credit to Dalot for taking his chance, both choosing to leave United and go to Italy for that loan, but also coming back and providing his worth. Now, speaking of Milan, Josh, there is obviously transfer window. We're talking about these outs and ins and Jesse Lingard, Anthony Martial. There's a forgotten player. Is it on the cameras lately? I'm sure everyone has seen the video, which I'll get into. But there was a player linked with AC Milan at the start of the window, Eric Bailly. But obviously that news did go quiet because he obviously went away to the African Cup of Nations. Ivory Coast had knocked out, thanks to Eric Bailly, which I want to get into a little bit. But in terms of Eric Bailly's name has to come back into the discussion now in terms of leaving the club because it was quite sort of heavily rumoured that AC Milan were interested. Does he go on loan or does he get sold even to AC Milan in this January window? Or is there simply not enough time? If United are in Dubai, he's been in Africa, AC Milan are in Italy, United's headquarters in England. Do you just think there's too many hurdles to get this one done?
Well, I think he's done everything in his power to not put himself on loan with that no-look penalty. I think we can all agree on that. I think the way United are at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if he does go on loan, in all honesty. I think United have more than proved that there's cover. I don't think I know it's one game and you can't say Phil Jones is the answer for a substitute, but he's definitely more than capable to fill in the extreme circumstances that you probably need him. The only thing I do worry about is the amount of injuries Varane and Maguire do get, and especially Lindelof as well. I mean, they've all been out, I think, at the same time recently. So you won't put it past them for that to happen again, especially with probably the busiest time of the season now with the FA Cup, the Champions League coming back into play, and Premier League catch-ups as well from lockdown. We've got that Brighton game coming up on a Tuesday night in February that's been arranged today. So there's a lot of games and a lot of scope for injury where I think he probably wants for these to get more game time. I think, again, going back on myself, I wouldn't be surprised if he does stay at United, especially until the summer. Although I think, they probably would have the cover if need be.
It's a weird one. I don't want to focus on it. Thank God I'm not a fan of Ivory Coast. What Eric Bailly did, I can't figure it. It's why, look, I know Eric Bailly on his date can be a good defender and has all the attributes to be a great defender. Now, I've had a discussion with many people in this, obviously, regarding Anthony Martial and his ability. Part of ability is doing it, performing consistently. So Eric Bailly's let down on that consistent part, whether that be fitness or just his decision making. I can't get my head around why he's done that in terms of a penalty shootout for your country to strut up there in a must-win in a pressure penalty spot and to do a no-look penalty when I'm not taking the piss, but if the goalkeeper wasn't there, I would still have questions about Eric Bailly hitting the target and scoring a penalty from 12 yards anyway. And for him to tell me if I'm wrong, but I find it a little bit arrogant and just simply unprofessional from him to look. A few players in world football have earned the right to take a no-look penalty for their country when they're most needed. And for Eric Bailly to step up in that fashion, I'd hate it as a teammate. I find it unprofessional.
Ahmad's going to hate me for saying this, but at least when Maguire makes these mistakes, he doesn't mean it. With Eric Bailly, everything he does, he means. He's honestly, he's a liability. And I've said it for a long time. He's not the answer. I know a lot of people have said, oh, he has that one good game where he has amazing quality, but so does Phil Jones. It's a cycle. There's a little cycle. They get complacent. They make these stupid mistakes. And with Eric Bailly, he needs to do it. It's more consistent that he does these mistakes than when he doesn't. Look at the Europa League when he made that outrageous bicycle kick in the box. I think he's done about 3 different things in this tournament where he's just lashed in with his legs higher than someone's face. He's honestly, he's a liability. At least for Maguire, he looks stupid, but he doesn't mean it.
Emad here saying Bailly's a liability, not worth having him around. Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where we can get a fee for him. If Milan want a defender, go and get it. And just a comment here, Ali saying, please reply to the above comments. I'm not a computer. I do try my best. I appreciate all the interaction. I try and get to everyone, but
it was about the director of football with Ranić. I think he.
Topics like that, their podcast for a different day. We could sit down for an hour. But I'll read a comment here, Alias. Sell Eric and Jones, brings fuel for free from Bayern Munich. He's tall, hard man, very fast, world class, and has won everything. His name's obviously always sort of bounced around. I think there's been a question about his suitability to the Premier League. I haven't seen too much of him, but he's a name that's always popped around. And a free transfer, I think you always do have to consider it. But I don't see that happening because there has been no links at all. Josh, I've always called him the kamikaze centre-back, and George here is saying Bailly's Cruyff turn on Pulisic in his own box was iconic. He does have some iconic moments, but unfortunately, some of the iconic moments aren't a positive for Manchester United. But in regards to, we've spoken about outs there for the majority of the podcast there, 20 minutes, Josh. Any ins? Obviously, Kamara is linked about in terms of the history we have in sort of following transfer news and following Manchester United. You just get the sense in terms of the type of rumours we're getting, the type of news that we're getting now, it just smells like we're not going to sign anyone. There'll be the 1 or 2 outs, maybe a big loan or maybe even a sale of an Eric Bailly. But signings now, maybe someone last minute on loan, or it's just weird. I don't feel like we're going to sign anyone. No,
neither do I, in all honesty. I think the only way I can see Kamara having any weight to it is if Donny does go out on loan. So I don't think Kamara is going to be like the long-term answer to United. I know he is young, but I'd rather hold out for someone like, I know you've had a debate with Larry separately, but I'd rather hold out for someone like Rice as opposed to him, someone that's proven in the Premier League. With Kamara, I don't think he's any better than what we've got, in all honesty. You look at you compare his stats to someone like Scott and to someone like Fred. Yeah, he's up and coming. He's only 22 years of old, but where Scott plays defensive midfield, the majority of the time, he's got a couple of goals in him a season. I don't think Kamara will get you anything really going forward, which I think is what I think maybe that might be an advantage in some respects to United because you actually want a defensive midfielder that can defend and probably control the ball as well. Where Fred doesn't probably guarantee you that, but with someone like Scott, at least we've got the balance with that as well.
I think it's one of those ones where we do see a footballer else when we say, okay, they've got the attributes that they look like they'll be good. Performing in England, you do need, it's one of those terms that it sort of means nothing. Obviously, we have signed great foreign players in the past, but there is weight in regards to the argument of Premier League proven. Okay, and so a player might be better than Fred and McTominay, but McTominay and Fred have something about them where they can perform in the Premier League. Someone might be beautiful on the continent, but it is it's a risk. And obviously, if it's only going to be small fee, 5 or 10 million, you think, okay, take that risk. But it's hard. I can't see anyone in terms of the short term coming in and taking a place of Fred McTominay. Not in regards to ability, you can bring a better player in, but in regards to what the manager and Ralph Rangnick wants, and he's been picking at Fred quite often. it's because of what they offer in terms of physicality and sort of the experience in the Premier League, which in terms of Ralph Rangnick has a short-term goal now of getting the top 4. We can't be blooding a player in for 6 months and see how they are in a year's time. He needs results now, and like it or not, he's going to depend on the experience, and that is Freddie McTominay, Nemanja Matic where he can. But does about wrap up. I'm going 25 minutes. We'll try and keep this one relatively short. So I do appreciate everyone in the live chat. Hopefully you got something out of that. Hopefully not too depressing, talking about United, sort of the inability to do deals and transfers, but hopefully things do pick up, both in regards to incomings and outgoings. But hopefully everyone did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you do leave a like on the video. And if you are in the live chat please do subscribe. That would be great. Just a comment here from Matthias earlier. More importantly, has Larry taken down his Christmas tree? That might be why he's injured. Might have a bad back from trying to take it down. So we'll see next time he's on camera. If the Christmas tree has been taken out, I highly doubt it. I'll put my money on it that it's still there. But in regards to that, obviously, next week, make sure you are subscribed if you're new, because next week we should be having a former player back on the podcast. Hasn't been on the podcast before, but I would put this player in the legend category. I think he's a United legend. We'll probably have a discussion in and around sort of what it takes to end a trophy drought or sort of win a Premier League title back. So maybe that sort of give you an idea of the era that he did play. Obviously, oversaw United's league title drought, and obviously what it takes to win that title back after so many years, because that was obviously a 26-year title wait. Josh, we're waiting. It's coming on to a decade now. This will be the 9th year without a Premier League title, so next year's a decade. And that's scary, because that feels like yesterday we last won a league under Fergie, and that is creeping on to 10 years is far too long.
I know. I think someone's taken on a bet with the Liverpool fans that United will have a longer drought than they had. And the longer it's going on, the more frightening it's getting. But I think United, they've got something in them, you think. Whether that's been this year, not this year, but in the next year, a couple of years, or a little bit more after that, I don't think we'll be waiting too long.
Yeah, just one here for him. He knows I agree with this. There's no one better than McTominay. No one. Yep, Scott McTominay, first name on the team sheet. Future United captain for both Ahmad and I. But again, hopefully everyone did enjoy that. Big thanks to Josh as always. Just last reminder, obviously everyone is holding their phone. If you click share, click subscribe, click like, it takes 2 seconds. We do truly appreciate it. And we'll be back probably tomorrow. Larry will be back. Obviously last Friday, we had that Friday night pint. I think we'll very much do the same. We'll just log on with 1 or 2 and just sort of enjoy and chat what's happening, because I'm sure there will be news. Obviously, by the time we click this, I'm sure Fabrizio Romano will tweet and there'll be breaking news somewhere. So there'll be plenty to discuss tomorrow. But as said, make sure you are subscribed, because next week we should be having a former player on and United legend, which would be great to discuss with. So until then, hope everyone has a good night, and we'll chat to you tomorrow. Cheers.